Yes, Leo, I am here with Moldover. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Ron. Thanks.
Welcome to the show. You've been on the TWiT network before, but for those who might not have heard of you or know what your music is, how would you describe your music?
Well, most people describe me as the Godfather of Controllerism.
Wow.
Which describes more about how I make music than the music itself. In that I use controllers, just things you hook up to computers, the wide array of things that could be as musical instruments in the spirit of making live music.
So how did you? I mean, I imagine you probably started with a guitar and as a musician. And how did you realize that what you wanted to do was limited by the instruments that you had? Like, how did you get to Controllerism?
It was basically coming from that traditional background, playing guitars and singing, starting bands, and then getting frustrated with that, wanting to do something all on my own, and getting really deep into electronic music, but discovering that the people. Most of the people doing that hadn't really explored what that could be in performance. Right. Most electronic music exists more in the studio, and it's more of a studio craft, and then it's performed by DJs.
Sure, yeah, and I've seen bands with and there's a guy in front of a little box and he's just pressing buttons and that sort of thing. Is it that you want to add a little more flair to it?
Exactly that. Yeah. It's like I want to bring the aesthetics of traditional live music performance,
right.
The showmanship and all the interaction with audiences and all that stuff that I love about going to see shows.
So were you always into electronic music, or what was your first kind of your genre that you were into?
Oh, I think it was IDM. I was really into the more complex and intricate, fancy kinds of music that was happening at the beginning of the millennium.
Right. All right. And were you involved in electronics at that point, or did you once you realized you had to build your own stuff, did you have to learn how to do it, or were you already?
Yeah, that was all pretty self-taught. I mean, I knew like how to solder, I could fix a cable or something, but I didn't know anything about instrument design or engineering. Circuit board layouts. That's all kind of self-taught and mentored from friends.
Cool. So you've created some really cool stuff. So let's start with your instrument albums, because that's what I'm most excited about. Show us these.
Yeah. Well, this is my first album that I put out on Light Theremin CD case. So this was kind of the first realization of this, and the idea was really just to do something amazing and new with a conventional artwork platform. I love like picture vinyl and all those kind of cool things you could do besides just some photos or some lyrics. So this is a conventional CD, but it's mounted on a custom printed circuit board, which has a lot of cool artistic stuff, custom font for all the track titles. It's got lots of artwork underneath the disc, and then mounted on the circuit board are the components of a simple synthesizer. So.
Oh wow, very cool. So we can actually, the case actually.
You can plug it in. It's got a little speaker. This is going to be kind of like maybe unimpressive.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Acoustic, but if you plug it in, it gets a little.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's light reactive. It's got two little photo sensors. It's just a simple sound generating circuit. But you can get a lot of interesting sounds out of it.
That's very cool. That's awesome. So now does it actually? Sorry, I had to play with it. Does it? Does the sounds and stuff that this make interact with any of the songs on the CD itself? Like, can you play along?
You can jam along with the record. That wasn't the artwork came after the composing of the music, so it was a little bit of an afterthought in this case. But,
that's so cool.
But with the next one, it's different.
And so then, are you making these from scratch by hand, or are you getting them?
These, I didn't really know what I was doing. This is my first circuit board, my first circuit that a friend helped me design, and I didn't expect to sell many of them because it's pretty expensive, to make these crazy packages.
Yeah.
But I made this video that went viral. People just love the concept. They're like, "This is the coolest album artwork ever."
That's so cool.
And so I sold over how many now? Like, close to or more than 2,000 of these.
Wow.
But they were all made by myself and people here, kind of like low budget style.
Yeah.
But that was part of the motivation to kind of redo it a second time around.
So now we've got the second gen. Right?
Yeah. So I've been working on another album for several years now. I didn't want to do a CD. I feel like CDs have kind of faded out.
And also, cassettes are the new hot thing now.
They are
re-releasing cassettes again. It's what goes around comes around.
It's true. It's true. I didn't expect that, but there's something really cool about the cassettes. It was actually a 4-track cassette recorder that I had when I was a kid. That was like my first music production tool, and was one of the big inspirations and ways that I made music when I was young. And it was hearing that music that inspired the music for this album. So it was actually that connection to the cassette, and that's why the album's called 4-track. And that was the inspiration for the whole cassette thing too. So fits in a cassette tape, and this is a tape case, and this is cool because it's like definitely a music thing, and it looks like, I don't know if you see that, it looks like a cassette on the backside.
It's very cool.
It's kind of a conventional graphic, and it's got a little USB drive glued on there, so it is music media.
Oh wow!
And then all this other stuff is circuitry for a more complicated instrument that's actually a low fidelity pitch shifter, so you can switch it on. And it's got a mic. This one also has a speaker built in.
Can we plug that in?
You can plug it in.
There you go.
Gets a lot more impressive. Hey. Oh, hey. You want to try this?
Oh, that's so cool. So what does each button do?
Those go up and down through different musical intervals.
So
you can tap them.
Just tap them and talk into it?
Yeah.
All right. And do I press anything else? Or?
No, that's it.
All right, cool. And then there's a feedback
That's
button.
feedback.
Feedback?
That's
oh, wait, there we go. That's why you don't hear anything. There we go. So if I press the button and talk into it, it adjusts and goes down. That's so cool. That's awesome. And so then, and so is the album on this USB drive?
It will be. It's coming out next month.
Okay.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the deluxe version.
Very cool, very cool. And so are you making these from scratch as well too, or are you at the point of manufacturing?
No, so this is manufacturing. Again, through some mentorship, kind of figured out that whole process. So this was made in China.
Very cool. So how much does this kind of smart album run if I wanted to buy it when it goes on sale?
They're being pre-sold right now for $55.
Cool.
And that might change when. Acoustic feedback.
That's awesome. So, and you can get them from your website, or?
Yeah, Moldover.com.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's great. So, what I really want to get into is some of these instruments, because these are really, really cool. So, now I love music. I go to see a lot of bands. I used to be a roadie. I've tuned guitars. This is unlike any other guitar I've ever seen. So this is called the Robocaster?
Yeah.
So tell me about this.
So this came from my beginning experiments playing with controllers and performance that didn't involve guitars or any conventional instruments. I was just playing controllers and got really fluid with these things as musical instruments. And then at some point it was like, oh, can I combine that with my skills as a traditional instrumentalist? Do something new and unique with guitar. So I partnered with my friend who's a guitar company called Visionary Instruments, and we made this. And it's really just a controller.
It looks like a rock band guitar on steroids. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that was kind of the look we were going for.
Yeah.
It's really just a controller built into an electric guitar, so it's kind of important to realize that it's kind of two things in one. So it's a conventional electric guitar, and then it's a USB MIDI controller. And so you could use that to control whatever you want.
Right.
What I like to do is control guitar effects. So kind of the way you could play effects with your feet, with a pedal.
Right, I see a lot of bands with the pedal racks, and there's like 8 different pedals and a wah and all that sort of stuff, right?
This is like having all that mounted on the face of the instrument, which is cool because you can just do some things conveniently, whatever, intuitively, like having a fader for volume, you know. It's just a little more ergonomic, but some of the cool things are like using buttons for pitch shifting.
Wow.
So you can do the same kind of tapping techniques that guitarists do, but with these buttons. And it's got motion sensors, moving the instrument, touch strips for doing things like filters.
Oh wow! So it's really, I mean, it's taking the basis of playing guitar and the various effects that have been disconnected from the guitar itself and combining them into one, right?
Yeah, and it turns out it's actually like really intuitive and really fun, and it's a new instrument in ways like guitar hasn't really been done before. So.
Very cool. And so now you said you partnered with Visionary Instruments. Is this something that somebody can I buy this? And
it's a boutique instrument, so it's not your probably not going to be your first guitar.
Right. You got to know a little bit what you're doing, right?
yeah. But if you're looking for something to break new ground, this could be it. And you got to remember you can do anything you want with these controls. So like I've set up a template that you can use to play all these same effects, but you could trigger videos or lights or trigger
So
sounds.
it's completely programmable, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I imagine there's an interface on the computer that you assign what the buttons do and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's fully programmable. It's actually based on Arduino, which was really cool.
Oh,
so
really?
You can turn it into something completely different, and we've done a lot of work to make the brain inside this thing pretty intelligent.
So about how long did it take to develop that?
This it was several spurts. There was just this like, would this be a cool idea? And that was like sticking things to a guitar and seeing if that was fun. And then there was about a year later, I spent like about 6 weeks and kind of hacked together something from an existing guitar. And then a year after that, that's the first prototype. A year after that, that's when I partnered with Visionary Instruments, and we made this. So this is made entirely from scratch in Oakland.
Cool.
It's partly computer cut, partly handmade, and this was about 4 months of like nonstop, like make it work.
So now if I have a guitar, I've got a a Telecaster at home that I bought at a garage sale, and I want to get into this. You developed a device that can help me kind of step into it as a novice.
Yeah, I mean that was the big thing. This is a professional instrument. This is what I want. This is what I play. At all my shows. But not everybody wants to commit to buying an entire new guitar. And like you said, you've already got a Telecaster. So that idea was floating around, and I was fortunate to know some people at another company called Livid Instruments. They make all kinds of, usually mostly like tabletop controllers and stuff like that. And so we kicked around ideas for like, maybe we could make something much more affordable and
like it retrofits into an existing guitar.
Exactly, and that's the beginning of Guitar Wing. So this just clamps on to any electric guitar you can imagine. If you can imagine this not covered
not
in
having
stuff,
stuff there.
You just like hook it on the horn, and it fits on pretty much any guitar. This clamp is all adjustable in multiple ways. And it's a wireless Bluetooth device, so you can pair it with your laptop or with your iOS device.
So no cable running out of it or anything like that?
Yeah, no, it's super convenient. It's super thin too, so like I don't know if you see the profile, but it doesn't mess with any of your sort of normal technique. It's using a part of the guitar that you just don't use and putting useful stuff on it. So
very cool. So how much does that run? So,
this I think it's like $150.
That's not bad at all. That's like the cost of a pedal.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there's thousands of these out there already, and that's awesome for me. It's the first instrument I've designed, except for the Light Theremin album, where there's just tons and tons of people who can, play with this new idea.
Cool. It's awesome stuff. It's very cool. It's a nice, a mix between maker technology and music. It's as a music fan, I love to see it. So it's very cool, Moldover. So that said, can you play us out to our next segment?
Yeah, I can. So I'm going to trigger some sounds from here, and then play on top of them the Robocaster. See if this works.